Hello, my name is Matthew, and I just read The Stockbroker's Clerk by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This is part of my read along series and book club with Steve Donahue. We're reading murder mysteries in the month of March, and we're reading all of the Sherlock Holmes short stories. And I just read the Stockbroker's Clerk, which was great fun, quite good fun. A few notable thoughts that I had immediately while I was reading it, and also immediately after I finished. It bears just like the last story, um, in some respects. This one bears a striking resemblance um, to the case of the Red-Headed League, as far as what the crime was, what the premise of the story was. Um, and it's a story of um, an offer that's too good to be true, a very suspicious and unlikely job position, and then ultimately a bank robbery. But the beginning of the story um, is an origin of Dr. Watson and his medical practice. So it's important in these stories that um, Watson, as a character, um, has the same depth, and that he's a fleshed out character and that we care about him. He's the voice of all of these stories. He's the one telling us these tales. And we learn about how he came back from the war and decided to start his own medical practice. And we just spend time with him. And it's really nice in these moments when we get to spend time with a totally different Watson, because he has a whole life outside of the sphere of Sherlock Holmes. It's he's a doctor by day. It's almost like he's a superhero. He's a doctor by day, and then he's my dear Watson by night, because he's the sidekick of this superhero of sorts. But he's home, and there's a knock at the door, and very unusually, Sherlock has come to visit him. Sherlock never leaves his apartment unless he's on official duties. And he just asks if Watson would like to join him on a case. And they spend time in their in Watson's house, and Watson agrees and has to. They just have a conversation about who's going to take care of the practice, and it's going to be the neighbor, and they have a practice of their own, and he has to go upstairs and tell his wife, and it's just very pleasant. And he agrees. They get into the carriage, and we meet the stockbroker's clerk, the character that's going to tell us the story. Sherlock is in the middle of the case. They're off on their way, but asks the stockbroker's clerk, to retell the story in as great as detail as possible to Watson. And then this is the part of the story where we get the internal story of the case. And it's it's as close to a retelling of the case of the Red-Headed League as could be. We have someone that was ready for a job interview, had an opening for a position. He was going in the very next day, and he has this encounter. Someone comes in, a charlatan, but charming and excited and really impressed with the stockbroker's clerk, and just says, "We have to have you. We have I can't remember the name, but it's like the International European Association of Hardware, and we need someone that's good with stocks and trades and money, and we think you're the best person for the job. We're going to pay you 5 times the amount as what you would get at this other job." The stockbroker's clerk has never heard of this position, and the allure is just the financial benefit. He offers him, he puts down on the table $100, £100 banknote as an advance. The job he's applying for was only going to be £200 a year. And he's asked to write an acceptance letter. He's also asked not to contact the position. It's like a security bank. He's told not to contact them. That they've already been contacted. You're already taken, and he has to leave leave London to go to Birmingham. And just like the case of the Red-Headed League, when he gets there, there's a very suspicious office that does not have a company name over the door, on the facade, or on the door. The decor of the office is shabby and sparse, and Spartan, and he's given a ridiculous assignment. He's given a phone directory and asked to manually, by eye, go through and write down every hardware store in London. And it takes him like a week to do this. He keeps going back to this office, and he's working on it. It's a much longer, more laborious task than he had been expecting. But suspicions are arising. There's something very strange going on in this. The circumstances are just very strange. And he notices that the person that he's talking to in Birmingham is supposed to be the brother of the person that offered him the job in London. And he notices that both of these people have a golden tooth. And so you don't have to be Sherlock to realize it's the same person wearing a disguise and acting differently in order to play some charade that is a mystery. And so that's what drove the stockbroker's clerk to go visit Sherlock. Now, again, this story and the last story are not so much mysteries where there's a case and Sherlock is solving it and figure it out. It's more that we're just along the way on a tale. It's hard to describe, I suppose, but Sherlock, of course, knows what's going on. But they get to the offices, Sherlock Watson, the stockbroker's clerk, and they see the charlatan picking up a newspaper, walking across the street, going into the office, and the stockbroker's clerk says, "Well, that's the man." And when all three enter, the charlatan figure is just ashen, looks up with these dead eyes, staring at the three of them. There's a very awkward, tense conversation that they have. Sherlock and Watson are pretending to be new hirees. There's a thought that maybe this charlatan believes that they're actually detectives and that they know what's going on. And he asks to go into one of the interior offices that does not have any sort of exit. So there's no way for him to flee. Sherlock points out that that ashen, grave face that they saw when they walked in was already a part of his countenance before he realized that there were three people. And there's a banging and clanging going on, and they have to run over. The door is locked where the charlatan has gone in. They have to break it open, and he's in the closet, and he hanged himself. So the banging and clanging were the feet banging up against the walls. They let him go. He doesn't die. And the clue of all of this is that the newspaper that he was reading announced that there was a bank robbery at the security bank that the stockbroker's clerk was originally applying for. And it was a two-person job. There was one person we never met on stage who took the guise of the stockbroker's clerk. So he stole his identity, went in for the position that our character never went in for. So it was a two-person bank robbery job, and it was just so elaborate, so convoluted. Feels like a comic book scheme, or a heist that would be thought up by like Ocean's 11 or something like that. Still quite good. A great story. Interesting. So interesting to spend time with Watson. A little different now than some of the earlier stories where it's very clear that Sherlock is solving the case. This one, all of the events just rolled out, and Sherlock, of course, is able to figure things out, but he wasn't an active participant in how everything resolved. So that is The Stockbroker's Clerk by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Let me know if you've read it. So thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you would like, and take care.